Yeah, this Lifetime movie is about two siblings who fall in love and get their freak on.
What? What the fuck?
This movie is a hot-ass mess. It's actually based on a novel, which is also a hot-ass mess.
Weird. Buddy, you're weird.
If this kind of content makes you feel some type of way, you've been warned. So, the movie begins with three siblings at their father's funeral. Their names are Kathy, Chris, and Carrie. There's a whole backstory to this, but basically they were all abused as kids by their evil-ass mother and grandmother after their biological father died, which is when Chris and Kathy actually fell in love with each other in the first place. Their mother actually tried to kill them with poisoned donuts, which is crazy. And then they all three ran away into the arms of the man who eventually adopted them. Now that he's just died, the only other family that they have is their black maid, Henny, whom they use as their emotional support blanket, of course. Their grief draws them closer together, particularly Kathy and Chris, who can no longer deny their romantic feelings for each other. So Chris decides to sneak into Kathy's room like he's the Night Stalker.
Bruh.
And they end up doing the nasty. Now look at this. Look at how she don't know where to kiss him next. She's just looking all around his chest. This is too damn much. Chris is acting all GQ and smiling because he thought he really put it down, while Kathy is looking and feeling horrified and guilty for, sleeping with her own brother. So they decide to go their separate ways and try to move on from each other because falling in love with your own sibling is not like a normal thing to do. Kathy ends up dating a jackass named Julian. He's a dancer, and Kathy follows him out of state to pursue her own dance career. Chris pursues medical school and starts going out with his professor's daughter named Sarah. Meanwhile, their youngest sister, Carrie, is in high school and is mercilessly bullied by these evil-ass girls. Basically, everybody becomes miserable. Julian is creepy as hell and abusive. Look how he tried to make Kathy jealous by dancing with another woman. He is so corny. So she leaves Julian to reunite with her family and attend Chris's graduation. But she's heartbroken when she realizes that he's engaged to Sarah. Little does Kathy know, Chris cannot stand Sarah's ass because he's not truly in love with her, but she's like so damn nice to him and it's impossible to dislike her, which makes Chris feel even more guilty. This movie is stressing me out. So Kathy returns to Julian, who gives her a whack-ass apology. Wait, is he constipated? Why is he looking like that? Meanwhile, Carrie suspects that Kathy and Chris are in love, but she does not say anything, and she tries to contact their whack-ass mom multiple times, but the mother continues ignoring Carrie, causing her to sink further and further into depression. She does eventually fall in love with a goofy preacher, but her depression never gets better. Things come to a head when Julian flirts with Carrie, and
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
he suspects that Kathy is actually in love with her brother Chris. Now, we literally have no idea how Julian found out this information. He's either psychic or Carrie may have told him. And look at the crappy CGI that's supposed to simulate Julian driving at high speeds. It looks like it's straight out of the 1950s. Anyway, Kathy tells Julian that she's pregnant with his baby and they have a car wreck. Julian ends up dying. So that's great. Eventually, Sarah sees Chris kissing Kathy. Sadly, Carrie ends up dying by her own hands by baking and eating the same poisoned donuts that her mother made for her and her siblings when they were all little. Now, why in the hell did nobody see that big-ass tub of rat poison right there on the kitchen counter? I cannot take this movie seriously at all. Chris and Kathy blame their evil, crazy-ass mother and grandmother for Carrie's death and their own unresolved trauma. To avenge Carrie's death, Kathy thinks it's a great idea to sleep with her own stepfather to try to ruin her mother's life, and Chris ends up supporting this. This movie is crazy as hell. Kathy's never met her stepfather, so that's how she was able to seduce him in the first place. This movie eventually ends with their mother in an asylum for the criminally insane, talking to herself after she killed her mother by burning her alive in a mansion.
Adiós, madre.
Her husband also ends up dying because he's stupid and he tried to be a hero and save the grandmother from the burning house.
Dumb ways to die.
Eventually, Chris and Kathy move to another state and end up living together, and they raise Kathy's baby as if they're a normal, happy family. This movie gives me nightmares. Let me know what you think of the movie down below in the comments. Let me know which other movies you'd like for me to recap, and while you're here, check out my other videos. Deuces!